So we would, the opposition would as well would like to live in that world, but we don't live in that world anymore. We live in a world in which some have to be educated, some would just not get an education otherwise. We live in a world in which some would just get weird values that would make them incompatible with society. And yes, we need to take them to school. As hard as that may seem and as wrong as that may seem to the idea that he has a point. No, thank you, sir. Now, let's look at what the proposition has brought us. As the opposition side, we have to show you the flaws in their case, in the argument they brought us, on a rational level, and to see what actual problems and counter-arguments we have. And we'll also give you a part of our substantive, our arguments for why school is fairly a good thing. Now, first of all, they keep saying that it's wrong because it's things other people make you learn. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first 20 years of your life, that's all you learn. Parents teach you things they think you should learn. They educate you in ways they think you should be educated. Friends tell you things they think you should know, give you advice according to the way they think you should act. No, thank you. By living in society, that's the basic thing we do. We filter as much as we can what we want to take from the outside and what we want to keep. And that's what school gives you an opportunity to do. School gives you this nice, well, to make it clear, the opposition is more than open to reform. The curricula might not be the best. The way things are structured might not be the best. The things that are put focus on may not be the best. But we contend today that what we need is a mass schooling system. You need to go into a classroom. You need to interact with people. And I'll give you more arguments about that later on. Now, as I said, there's nothing wrong with other people telling you what information you should get and how you should shape yourself, because that's how we form ourselves. And by flirt, please.
What you're saying is that we have to be forced, everyone has to be forced to go into mass schooling system and to go and take a certain curriculum, but they have to be forced to do that.
We're just saying that in today's society, that is something that is not useless. That is something that produces more advantages than disadvantages, and this core fact that we have mass schooling, and yes, it's imposed at a level, we're sorry to say, so that people don't get left behind. People don't end up working in a stone quarry, although they could be successful lawyers or politicians or other things. Please, sir.
Are you saying that being forced to do something is now called not being left behind?
Yes, quite. When it comes to education, I'm sorry to say that's what it means. Forcing you to go to school means you don't get left behind and work in a stone quarry for some people, and we don't want to leave those people behind. Now, so it's not that bad that it's things other people decide. There can be reform, there can be discussion if how good this information is, but there should be mass schooling. Now, they told us about the individuals and how this is good for them. We don't live in a society in which we can all afford private teachers and just have a teacher go home. We need this system. We need this system to get education. We need this system to have all this. Now, what we're going to further on say, apart from these counter-arguments to what the proposition is saying, is basically our case, which is saying that there are very high advantages to education. What we're saying is basically that the skills and information you get in school are vital. Now, these things may seem as just boring classes that somebody just spews lots of nonsense at you and you have to memorize, you produce on a paper, forget all about it afterwards. But sometimes that information becomes core information, and we are contending that this information could be better, that this information could be more relevant to today's society. But that's just a question of reform. That's just a question of reform of an existing and beneficial mass schooling system. So that's what we're saying today. The second thing we're saying is that, opposed to all other forms of education, mass schooling gives you the social interaction. Each and every classroom is a small society in which you learn to interact with other people. Now, this may sound small, there's lots of people all over, but what it does is it puts you in a place to show you that there's idiots out there, there's smart people you can cooperate with, there's teamwork. It teaches you a lot of things in the classroom.
Sure.
So, please, sir.
But if you're free of the obligation of school, why can't you just get that in so many other means and an optional level?
Ladies and gentlemen, when do you meet other people? I mean, there are situations in which the only other place you can meet other people is go into a club with banging music, or go into some place where there's heavy drinking, or even spend time till 5 a.m. in front of your block. But those aren't the exact things that replicate society. If that's what you think replicates society, you might have trouble later on. And this is why we should have this simulated society, this simulated social experience, which is not that simulated altogether, to teach you about later on. It helps shape you. Now, our second argument is that basically school opens up paths. And school opens up paths and lets you decide what the proposition wants to have overall, which is, apart from that core value that we need to function as a society, apart from that lots of information which you find more or less useful, but which society considers everyone should more or less have in order to function as a society, you can choose to specialize. You can choose what to do in high school, you can choose what you want to do, and last but not least, school opens up the way and is the gateway to extracurricular activities, which we have to understand are basically a part of school in the sense that school opens up your way. If you want to be an artist, you can have theater clubs. If you want to become a lawyer, get skills in research or writing and speaking, you can go to debate. There's lots of things you can do, and there's lots of extracurricular. So we have to understand that we have a path and an option to progress with these things. After the basis, after the core values that we have to share, after we have to start living as a society, a small society together inside the school, after we have to start dealing with authority, with teachers that just don't get it, and after we do all these things and learn these small little lessons about how life is sometimes tough, how sometimes you gotta say the right things, how maybe sometimes some people might learn what the right way to cheat is. The point is, it's a place where you get to learn the lessons you think are right for your life. And we need this. We don't need just a place where all this happens because a teacher comes to your home. Thank you.